Hello, my name is Parry. I'm a lecturer in the School of Nursing and Midwifery, and I led the College Teaching Fund bid for this project.
Hello, my name's Jane Frisbee. I'm a lecturer primarily based in the School of Medicine, but work across schools and departments to develop interprofessional learning opportunities.
The focus of this project is about medication management and keeping patients safe. Medication errors are a grave concern to both clinicians and to patients, and the opportunity that we had was to develop a resource for final year medical, nursing, midwifery and pharmacy students to learn together to try and improve their safety around medication management.
So following a successful award from the College Teaching Fund, we brought together a project team which consisted of representatives from the relevant disciplines, so medicine, nursing and pharmacy, along with, very importantly, learning technologists who worked to develop the e-learning, and also student representatives and patient representatives. The project is a blended project which consists of an e-learning resource and then workshops where the students work together around the kind of subject matter of the e-learning resource. And I think if you get back to the kind of the definition of good interprofessional education, it's about the opportunity to learn with, from and about each other in order to improve collaborative practice. And I really think that the e-learning, which they can do alone, which helps with some of our timetabling difficulties, and then coming together to share their ideas around that in a safe environment, really does help them in that process of learning with, from and about.
The thing really about medication errors is not only are they dangerous, they're complex and they're multifactorial. So we picked 4 high-risk medications that are prone to error, and we, using actors, recorded podcasts of real-life medication errors that demonstrated the involvement of the different healthcare disciplines and also different stages of the medications management process. We embedded those videos or podcasts into an e-learning resource which also had other learning activities and formative assessment opportunities for the students to participate in. We then allocated each of the students in mixed discipline groups to one of those 4 medication error scenarios, and they had to look at the podcast and engage in those learning resources. Subsequent to that, they then attended an interprofessional workshop where they could undertake a root cause analysis of the medication error and present their findings to the assembled group.
Following a successful pilot study, this academic year we've rolled out the project to all final year nursing, midwifery, medical and pharmacy students. That's about 1,100 students in total. It's a compulsory session that they all attend, and it's becoming part of their sort of final year sort of simulated practice before they enter practice hopefully next year.
The project and the project team were nominated under the Patient Safety category for the Nursing Times Awards. This is very much a high-profile awards ceremony. Part of that meant that we had to do a presentation, and also we had the opportunity to meet Prince Charles at Clarence House. Sadly, we didn't win the finalist of the patient safety category, but I think what was important was we were the only educational establishment that was nominated at all for any of the awards.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So I think that was a real achievement in itself, and actually to be nominated for award is a significant accolade.
The key issue, I think, is a contemporary, credible, high quality resource that drew the students in, that made them be part of the story.
Yes.
And so we found, didn't we, when they were in the workshops, that they in a way took on the roles of the different disciplines and said, yes, but I did this and I did that. So I think that's really emphasises that the resource delivered what we wanted it to achieve, which is something that students felt was believable.
Absolutely. And because it's believable, when they came together in an interprofessional group, they were able to discuss the different roles of the different professionals in this task of delivering medication. And I think it gave them some insight into some of the anxieties, the pressures, the difficulties that other professionals have in this undertaking, thereby almost having a greater empathy with each other.
I think it's important to identify that there are challenges. I think scripting the story was a big challenge. We are representing authentic clinical practice, which the students can go back and look time and again because they can revisit the films. Therefore, it's really important that we scripted the story of the error accurately and paid close attention to different clinical details. And that's time consuming because we had actors, as real clinicians, didn't want to be associated with errors. So we had to ensure we were utterly accurate. I think technical competence in developing e-resources is a challenge for some, and therefore you do need good support in developing credible e-resources. And I think finally, time, administrative time, and someone to drive the project through. You need good project management, good project leadership, and a willing band of colleagues that will help each other out. Fundamentally, this is about good teamwork.
There's various things come to my mind. One is good project management.
Mm-hmm.
We were very lucky to have an administrator who dedicated a lot of time to supporting this project. And she was really able to coordinate us, because we were all from differing departments with busy diaries. So coordinate us working together and really keep us to deadlines, because that was significant. Because we were also coordinating with external agencies, the filming company.
Possibly one of the advices to others might be, it's not always about having the complete finished project. Sometimes you can actually release parts of the project to engage with the students and get feedback, and that in turn then formulates the next stage of the project. One of the things that we'd hoped initially was perhaps that the students could, on the e-site, watch the films and then type in questions which would then generate answers. But that, given the time available, proved a little bit too sophisticated. But we haven't lost sight of that idea. And so, for example, we may then formulate a bank of answers to commonly asked questions, which increase the sort of interactivity of the resource to students. Because the student, I suppose, to some extent, apart from the workshop, is fairly passive in the learning process, although there are activities for them to engage in and to observe. But to actually type in a question and then get an answer would be just, I think, really, really exciting.